Today's video is going to talk about three things, and so that is what I want you to pay attention to today. Number one, we are going to take a look at the way that we think about particles and the way that we visualize them in hopes to help us to understand a few things that can extend us deeper into the chemistry process. Two, we are going to take a look at two different types of substances. I'm going to introduce you to both of those today. And lastly, number three, we are going to take a look at what a chemical equation is and what a chemical equation can tell us about what is happening in a reaction. And so we're going to review that definition of reaction as we go forward. And so there are three key things that you're going to get out of the video today. And so let's dive in and check it out.
So we're going to start off first by taking a look at how I want you to visualize our particles, which shouldn't be too much of a stretch because each of these circles with a letter in it, which is actually a chemical symbol, is going to represent different elements that are going to combine to make a chemical reaction. So if we look here, the H stands for hydrogen, the C stands for carbon, just like it does on the periodic table. So what does Ca stand for? So now that you know that our circles are going to represent the elements, let's take a look at some substances that we've worked with. And as I mentioned in the beginning, there's two types of substance, elemental and compound. Let's first take a look at elemental. Elemental substances are substances that are made up of one type of element. So as you can see here, I've moved two circles of H's together to represent hydrogen gas, or H with little 2 behind it. Another type of elemental substance, as you can see here, I'm combining two of the O's together, which would represent oxygen gas, or O2. So those are elemental substances. It makes sense. They're made up of one element. Compound substances, on the other hand, are a little more complicated. Compound substances are ones that are made up of two or more different elements. You can see here the Na and the Cl are next to each other, and so that represents NaCl, or sodium chloride, which is table salt. Another common compound substance, because anything that is made up of different types of elements are compound substances. So that really encompasses a lot of different substances we've worked with in class. As you can see here, I'm moving the H, I'm moving an oxygen atom, and now I've got another H. Let's get our calcium out of the way. And what do I have here? When there's two H's and an O together, what do I have? H2O, or water. And water is also an example of a compound substance. Here is an example of another type of substance that we haven't worked with yet. It's called calcium hydroxide. And you can see that our calcium is in the center, and on either side there's an oxygen and a hydrogen atom. The oxygen and the hydrogen are strongly bonded together, which means that their bond is very unique and tough to break apart even in a chemical reaction. However, because atoms rearrange in a chemical reaction, you'll find out that it is possible. But its chemical formula looks very different. It starts off with a Ca, and then because of the OHs, we have to do something different. We have to add parentheses here. And on the outside of the parentheses, that's when it's going to represent how many of each we have. So it is Ca parentheses OH parentheses 2 to show that there are two sets of OHs in this substance. We know that this substance is made up of calcium, oxygen, and hydrogen. So what would this be an example of? An elemental or a compound substance? Choose the correct answer that's on the screen now. Now we're going to take a look at the story of carbon dioxide in terms of looking at a chemical equation, which is something new to us. Here we've got carbon dioxide, one carbon and two oxygen atoms. But how did carbon dioxide become carbon dioxide? You may have lots of theories about that we breathe it out and things like that, but what, again, is happening at the particle level? That's when we have to flip that switch in our brain. It really all comes down to atoms and how they interact with each other. So We're going to take a look at this in terms of a chemical equation. A chemical equation is a lot like a math equation, except for a couple of key things that you'll learn in our story here. So we have one carbon atom, and we have two oxygen atoms that are bonded together. These two things combine to cause a chemical reaction, which then cause them all to become a lovely, happy family of a carbon dioxide molecule. You can see here in the chemical equation that it looks a lot like a math equation. We've got a plus sign. The only thing that's different here is the arrow. The arrow means yields, or for anyone else to think about it, because yields is a very sciencey word, you can think about it that it creates one carbon and two oxygens create carbon dioxide. We've got that plus sign there, and the plus sign actually separates the carbon and the two oxygens. We can call the carbon and the oxygens, or the things that react, we call them the reactants. So everything on the left side of the arrow are called reactants. Those are the things that combine to form new substances, which is what a chemical reaction is all about. What is on the other side, or the right side of the arrow, are the products. Those are the things that are created as a result of a chemical reaction.